So I'm 15 years old, 3 months away from being 16,
Mm.
right? And I fall asleep on this park bench, and
Mm.
I'm awoken by this excruciating pain. And I remember screaming in pain, and I could smell, this smell of like, burnt flesh mixed with some sort of chemical and something. So I jumped up off the bench and I started to roll in the grass. I started to roll in the dirt and everything. And I'm telling myself to keep my eyes closed, but I'm still taking little tiny peeks through my eyes still. And it's around that park, there's like coconut vendors that would sell like, fresh coconuts and stuff.
Mm.
And I took a peek and I saw one of the coconut vendors coming charging towards me with his blade, his machete in his hand. And I was screaming at the guy. I was like, "What did you do to me? What did you do to me?" And I just felt the wind of him blow right past me. And he actually started to give chase to the person that poured the acid on me.
Oh,
And he didn't
right.
catch up with them. He came back and he gave me a bottle of water. Right now, sis, I'll tell you one thing. If you ever come across someone with a chemical burn, you do not ever apply water to that burn, right? That water just activated those chemicals. And when I thought I was in pain before, this is when the real pain actually started. When I poured that bottle of water on my face, that's when the pain started. And I was there screaming. It was like about 10 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday morning. And there were cars that were driving by and stuff like that. There were people not too far away, but no one was coming to help me. So eventually, after a couple of minutes of screaming and panicking, I had to calm myself down in the midst of all that pain. And I sort of like peeked, and there was like a phone booth. Those old phone booths they used to have. There was one of those phone booths, and I made my way to the phone booth, and I called the emergency services. And I remember speaking to that lady on the phone, the call handler, and I told her like I needed an ambulance. I was basically opposite the US Embassy by the Queen's Park Savannah, and I think someone poured acid or something on my face and the pain there. And I'm talking to her and I'm screaming out the conversation and I'm bawling. And she's like, "Okay, don't worry. Like an ambulance is on the way to come and meet you." And she's like, "Take care." And I could sense that she's about to say goodbye. And I'm like, "Oh no, please, please don't hang up the phone on me. Please, 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 I'm begging you. I don't have anyone. Like, please just stay on the phone with me until the ambulance
Mm.
arrives."
Right.
And she stayed on the phone with me. Now, where I am in this park, the
Right.
it is the park is about 3 miles circular. So the hospital is on the other end of the park, about a mile away or 1.2 miles away. And I kid you not, it felt like from the moment that ambulance left the hospital, I started to hear the siren blazing, and I started to scream at the lady on the phone like, "I'm here, I'm here." I could hear them like, "Tell them don't pass me, please, please make sure that they don't pass me. I need the help. I'm here." And I could hear the ambulance getting closer with every second, and I could just get like more anxious and more paranoid that they're going to pass me, and I'm just going to be left in this situation. So eventually the ambulance came, and I remember the ambulance pulling up, and I remember they put me to sit down on this cot that they bring out of the ambulance.
Mhm.
And that's all I remember at that moment. The next memory I have is of they just took me out of the ambulance and they're wheeling me up the accessibility ramp to enter into the emergency section of the hospital. And I remember opening my eye and there are people standing over me as they're pushing me by, and I could just see the look of horror on everyone's face. I could see the disgust. I could hear all the comments that everyone is making, right? And then I pass out again. And I wake up 2 days later and I'm being warded in one of the wards on the hospital. I got up, I went into the bathroom, and I started to unwrap the dressing because they had my face completely wrapped up from head to neck. I was completely like a mummy, right? And I unwrapped the dressing, and eventually, when I saw my face, my emotions just left. It just left. And I just slowly and calmly and collectively walked right out of that hospital. I left the hospital, I walked across the street, and I went back into the same park, the Queen's Park Savannah. And I walked into the park for a bit away where nobody could hear me and stuff like that, and I fell to my knees. I was already having a difficult time with the story of God, you know, because there's a lot that I've been through in those months, from sleeping in the mosque to sleeping on the street. There was so much that I've been through, that I started to lose faith that there was a God. And now I'm in the park there again. My face is completely raw. This nostril is completely closed down. This eyelid is stuck up here. This eyelid is stuck down here. My mouth is halfway shut. All down my neck and everything is completely burnt. And I start to speak to God. And I start to tell God, I said, God, now more than ever, I need you to prove to me that you are real. And this is the conversation I had with God, right? I said, God, you have to, you have to open the heavens and just strike me down. Just stamp me with your fist and just end my life just right here, God. Like, you have to prove to me that you're real by ending my life this moment. I cannot live like this, God. I cannot continue anymore. They tell me that in your word you say that you don't ever give a person more than they could bear. Well, I'm telling you, God, I can't bear this. And I cried and I bawled and I screamed, and all of the emotions that I didn't feel when I first saw my face, they then started to come out as I was there on my knees begging God to end my life.